What is up, Internet? This spoiler chat for episode 2 of The Bad Batch is brought to you by our matching ridiculous Pokemon hoodies. Not officially, we were not sponsored. We just decided to wear the same clothes. Oh, my name's Nerdy.
And I'm Clarus.
We get Nerdy Nightly?
And we thought we'd share it with you.
Yeah. That is right. Welcome back to another spoiler chat for episode 2. Warning, we will be talking about everything in this episode. But if you do want to know what we thought, without spoilers, really quickly, what'd you think of the episode?
I thought it was really good. They developed a lot of the characters further in a really like easy to understand way. Like, you know, you can show this to your son or nephew or niece or
Daughter?
What?
Like Omega, the daughter?
Yeah, like it's not.
Should I do my entire spoiler chat in this accent?
No, you should not. It's easy enough to understand. You know, like it's not like overly complicated. And I'm sure that there will be some more complicated themes as we go along, but it is definitely more of an all ages show right now, which is nice.
Yeah, but still interesting for adults, which I appreciate. I definitely think
it.
This definitely age-wise, I'd put this near the end of Clone Wars and not like around where Resistance sits. And I love Resistance. I think it's a really fun show. I really enjoyed it, but it is definitely for a younger audience, and this doesn't have that same like I wouldn't show this to someone under the age of 10 probably.
Yeah, that's fair.
Well, whereas Resistance, I would.
Yeah.
So this episode is named Cut and Run, because we go to Seleucami, and we see Cut, an old clown, and his wife Sue, and they've been living out in the outback there.
Yeah, it feels literally like the Outback. They have like this like barbed wire fence that's like 3 feet away from their house.
Literally.
And literally on the other side of it.
The kids have like 4 feet to play in.
Yeah. But if you go past that fence, you might get eaten by giant tigers.
The Attack of the Clones tiger.
Yeah, I saw it in the bushes and I was like, I see it.
I see you. I see you.
Sorry, we've moved into spoilers.
Right. It's a spoiler chat. They know.
I know, but you said really quick.
Yeah, and then you were not quick.
You're right.
You were very long. Winded is what I should have ended that sentence with a word.
Yeah.
So we see the batch head to Seleucami, and they meet up with Cut, and we find out that I'm sorry, I give up. Sue, his incredible Twi'lek wife, and we find him with his kids, which was super sweet. And we find out that the Empire has taken over, and they are rolling out the blockchain. It's not called the blockchain, though. That's the crypto thing.
Chain code?
Chain code. Yep.
Okay.
I got Doge on the brain, kiddos. It's going to the moon.
Why? We're not invested.
But so many of my friends are, and I want them to be rich.
Fair enough.
So I can sleep on their couch when you break up with me. So the Empire is registering its citizens with a chain code, and Cut needs to get off Seleucami, and he's having a hard time doing that. And so the Bad Batch, who head there to try and find out how to run away, basically how to become deserters and survive doing that, have to help him in that, while surprisingly Cut has to help them become 4 dads.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is.
Yeah. It is funny, right? Because this show, for the past week, everyone has kind of been talking about the fact that this show is like Mando times 4, in that like it's Mando and Grogu, which is Hunter and Omega, but then you've got the other 3 Mandos. You know, you've got Rika, you've got Tick, you've got Echo, and you've got 4 Mandos and a baby here. The difference, obviously, is that Omega can do a lot of things that Grogu can't.
Yeah, I was gonna say, this definitely never felt like Mandalorian to me.
I get what... I get it, right? Like, the plot of this show is that you have mercenaries on the run with a child. A very special child. I totally understand the comparison. I do think there's a lot of differences. Also, it's like...
They feel very different.
In a time of turmoil just after a big galactic government shift. Like, there's a lot of
But
like,
when is the galaxy not in turmoil?
for like 1,000 years before this.
Oh, but we just never see that.
Well, no, the High Republic books are coming out, and I'm assuming the Acolyte TV show coming to Disney Plus eventually will cover that time period. But yes, in the time period of Star Wars that we usually watch, yes, there is usually turmoil.
Yeah.
I think that what I'm getting at is there are a lot of like big picture comments that you can make about the show that are very similar to The Mandalorian, right?
Right.
It's when you get into the details and into the why and into like what is actually happening that the differences are there.
Yeah.
I think that Omega is a very different character from Grogu.
Oh, yeah.
And like they're, Mando is protecting a baby, which is a very different relationship from the clones have picked up another clone and are trying to figure out how to best protect that clone who's truly one of them.
Yeah.
And Omega has the ability to make choices for herself.
Yep.
I really appreciated it that at the end of this episode, she was the one who chose to come back. And that she's like, no, I want to be here because this is where I want to be. Mm-hmm. And that Hunter's response to that was, okay, then we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And I think that, I don't want to get political, but I think that a lot of times in real life, we don't give that option to kids enough. Mm-hmm. And we just kind of like push them around, especially kids who are in systems that are maybe like the foster care system. Like, I think that adults can sometimes take a position of, I know what is best for you, so you're going to do what I want you to.
Yeah.
When like a 13-year-old, 14-year-old, 15-year-old kid, they're pretty smart. Like,
yeah.
And I feel like I like the message of this episode. I did.
Yeah, me too. And I'm really excited to find out more about Omega's character. Mm-hmm. So right now we know that that she is a defective clone somehow, and that she. Like, they talk about the fact that Omega, like, must have been created for a purpose because I forget what the race is.
Do you think that they're force sensitive? Omega? The Kaminoans, by the way.
Kaminoans, okay. No. I was like, the Kashyyyk,
Kaminoans, they're cloners.
Yeah, they've clearly created her for a reason. I think she might be force sensitive, but I don't know. That's not what comes to mind.
No, I just think that, like, every time we get a new Star Wars thing, the question is, which character is force sensitive?
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly feel like maybe Bad Batch is going to be the show that, like, none of the main characters are force sensitive, and, like, that would be cool. Mm-hmm. Maybe Omega was created for more, like, diplomatic or, like, charismatic traits as opposed to, like, physical traits. Because here's the thing, like, I think kids are annoying, but Omega's pretty cool. So I feel like the fact that she was able to convince.
I think kids are annoying, but Omega's pretty cool.
Sorry, not all the time.
No, I love that. That was hilarious. That was very funny.
Thank you. I try. I'm here usually every day on this couch making content.
It's funny because it's true.
No, I just mean that, like, she has a strong sense of morality and also has a strong will, and, was able to get these, like, 4 grown men who are, like, military dudes to like her enough to like keep her around, because they could have been like, no, you're going with them.
Yeah, not just like her, like feel like she's one of them.
Yeah, and so I wonder if her, like, I'll say, like, speciality is going to be more of, like, a personality one or, like, internal one, as opposed to, like, being the strong one or the, like, techie one. I wonder if it's going to be just
the charismatic one.
Well, yeah, like, that's kind of the only word that I can think of it.
I also like that so far her role in the team has been to be small and sneaky.
Yeah.
Like, she really is, like, the happy version of Arya Stark.
Yeah, truly. You can fit into this small gap in the wall.
In this vent that we think like, they don't have the schematics. We need to talk about, so, the problem that I have with this episode, and the one problem I have with the Bad Batch thus far, is that the Bad Batch have been working together for years. Like, literal years. Yeah. And they don't communicate well. And there are 2 things in this episode I want to point to as far as bad communication among the Batch. The first is that Omega is like, well, they've got inhibitor chips, right? In the heads. And
oh, yeah, she straight up just comes out and says it.
And Tech is like, yeah, of course. And Hunter's like, what? And Tech is like, oh, I just assumed that you would have figured that out on your own. And I'm like, I'm sorry, Tech, you knew that there were inhibitor chips in the clones, and then in the first episode you saw that the clones suddenly started behaving differently, and you didn't put two and two. You knew, Tech, and you didn't put two and two together?
Yeah. And
I'm like, Tech, you assuming that other people know what you know is going to get all of you killed.
True.
The second time, also Tech. Tech comes up with a plan, and then he just does it, and they have communicators.
Yeah.
There's no reason for him not to be like, Hunter, I figured this out. Yeah. This is what I'm going to do. He calls the Empire first and waits until the ship is being commandeered.
Yeah. Before saying anything.
To say anything. He's like, oh yeah, by the way, we're being kidnapped. And Hunter's like, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
And look, I get that these men trust each other, right? I get that. But talk to each other. You have a child now. Communication in a relationship is key, particularly between a parent and a child. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. I thought that moment was like kind of silly, where Tech's like, yeah, the inhibitor chips, and I was like, wait, you guys knew? Oh, okay.
You aren't.
Like, I thought part of the story would be them finding out, but Omega literally straight up was like.
Well, because if I had been working with Crosshair for years, and I knew how he worked. And one day he suddenly started working different.
Yeah, they're like, what's wrong with you? Like, he's clearly acting different.
I would assume inhibitor chips if I knew that there were inhibitors. Like, it's one of those things where, like, I thought the reveal of the inhibitor chip was going to be, like, a moment where the clones would all be rocked. Yeah. Where Bad Batch would be like, oh my god. That's what happened to Crosshair.
Yeah.
And then I figured that would be the middle of the season, right? They would be chased by Crosshair a few times. They'd be trying to figure it out. They'd run into Rex. Rex would say inhibitor chips. They'd go, what?
Yeah.
We have to go save Crosshair. This becomes a different mission.
Yeah.
Now they're just kind of like, oh yeah, the inhibitor chips. And they're like, inhibitor chips? Well, that's crazy. And then they just move on.
Yeah, did not love that. Especially because I think it takes away from what that means. 100%. Especially for your everyday clone. You know, like, that should have been, I think, a more impactful moment.
Well, and I feel like they shouldn't be killing clones so recklessly.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like they should be, like, the Bad Batch. Because we know that the Empire ends up turning away from the clone program and going towards recruitment, right? That's canon. Sure. Yeah. Conscription is the much better word for it. You are right. And like, in not always, like, the heavy recruitment... on a lot of worlds. Yeah, propaganda is probably the better word for it, right? Because there are a lot of people who join the Empire
because they believe
out of desire.
It's they think they're doing the right thing.
Lost Stars, the book by Claudia Gray, does an amazing job showing that. If you've never read Lost Stars, it is one of the best Star Wars books, and it really is. Claudia Gray, I've got that Into the Dark on my shelf. I haven't read it yet, but I'm so excited because you're so good at this. But we know that the clones get phased out, and I would have kind of enjoyed if this show was like the Bad Batch going around ruining the Empire's plans by removing inhibitor chips from clones.
Yeah.
Instead of Hunter, they kill
liberating.
Clones.
Yeah. They
in this episode, and it's weird because I get that they're regs, and I get that the Bad Batch don't have a lot of connection to them because they're different and they're kind of treated differently by the other clones, but. Mm-hmm. There was an element of the episode where I was like, you guys know that this isn't their free will. And I get that you have to escape, but, like, couldn't you, like, throw your blasters on stun and not kill them? Like, it felt... There, you know, I don't care when the clones kill droids, right? Because they're droids. Yeah, okay, so some CEO doesn't get a bonus that year, whatever. But now that the clones... This is the weirdest part of the galaxy, story-wise, for me, because in the Clone Wars, I fell in love with the clones. I love them.
Yeah.
I care so much about them because of that show, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of that is because of the relationships that Anakin and Ahsoka and Obi-Wan build with clones throughout that show. Like, really, really, really... And then watching them with each other. And so now that we're in this part of the galaxy where those are still the clones... but their free will has been taken away, and they're kind of being treated the way that the droids are, it is a tough moral question for me.
Yeah,
and it takes some of the enjoyment out of the action sequences.
Yeah, I wish that this was a thing that was addressed. Mm-hmm. And, you know, even if you do it in a way that... Look, the show is definitely more geared towards all ages, and dealing with that big of an idea, like dealing with that is difficult, and especially 100%. Breaking it down for like a 10-year-old to understand. But I think you have to, especially because you've set up the Clone Wars the way that you have. Like you said, you love the clones. If Clone Wars didn't exist and this was just a spin-off show about some clones that if you didn't already love the clones and have that relationship to them, I think maybe you could get away with it. But I think there's probably a lot of people like you out there who are like, wait, but I like those guys and it's not their fault.
Well, and it's also tough, like, because I don't have that affinity for stormtroopers, but we only really see stormtroopers at war.
Or like
and this isn't
Finn.
War.
Finn is like the only, well, at least in like main Star Wars. I don't know.
Yeah, but Finn kills stormtroopers in the sequels, right?
Sure,
but they are
totally.
at war, right? Yeah. And there is something different about that. This is weird because it is not wartime, and these are essentially slaves, right? And it's not. It's and so that's what makes it. That's what makes it complicated for me. Is that the clones here are not. Yeah, it's tough. It really is tough. And it brings up a lot of really tough questions that I hope the Bad Batch addresses. Because, I know the Bad Batch don't love the regs. I get that. But, like, they're still their brothers in a way.
And they are still, like, sentient people who are being mind controlled.
Yeah. And it is a lot for me about the difference between stormtroopers being propagandized and brainwashed into it, but still having free will and making that choice.
Yeah, they don't have mechanics in their head forcing them to do a thing.
Yeah, it's why like I've never once blamed the clones for Order 66, right? Well, actually in the original I do, but like one in Clone Wars you don't blame the clones for Order 66 because you just feel so bad for them. And the clones who know about the inhibitor chips and get them out and watch the other clones turn on the Jedi. Those scenes are so heartbreaking and like really, really, really unbelievably heartbreaking. And I don't know. It does. The action sequences against the clones is less fun in this show for that reason. And I don't think that's going to change. I think that the show lives in one of the murkiest times in the galaxy, and that there, and maybe it's just like Star Wars storytelling growing up and really like getting into the weeds of these people and complicating the narrative of who the good guys and bad guys are. And this is just the natural progression of it. But like I'm watching the show in a very different way because the bad guys were the good guys of the last show in a way that is complicated.
Yeah. And it's something that I do hope that they address. I hope they don't just leave it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's going to feel really weird. And I hope they address it soon. Because like you said, like every time they start killing clones, I'm like, that sucks. Like, you know what I mean? It's not like...
Yeah, and they're totally justified. Like, those clones are trying to kill them. I'm not saying they're not. It's just 100%. For the audience it's complicated.
Yeah. You're like, look, I like, you don't blame the Bad Batch for doing what they're trying to do to survive at all. But there's that added layer of, like, these people literally are not in control of their actions, and that's horrible.
Didn't think that this was gonna get us down. I'm sorry.
No.
It's deep thoughts, y'all.
Look, this is what the show has brought to the table, and we are just digging into it. And I think it's
brightly
important.
colored Pokemon hoodies.
Yeah, but they're cute.
They're cute.
Oh no. Okay. All right. Sure. Go for it.
I really like. Oh no, I can't. I like Chimchar's face right here.
Did we miss anything? Was that
no, that was kind of all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you
Sue,
think Omega's
amazing.
Force sensitive?
Yeah, I do.
You do? Okay.
Yeah. I think that they love to introduce characters that should have been around for the original trilogy and then give us convoluted reasons why they weren't. So I think that we're gonna get another one here.
That's right.
But Sue the Twi'lek. Amazing. Yeah. Amazing. I love you. I love Twi'leks. I love sharpshooters. I love a woman who climbs up on top of her house and just starts shooting away at the tiger. That whole moment, I was like, this is amazing. Sue is so cool. Yeah. I want more Sue.
Yeah, I would watch that.
Yeah, like seriously, like, make her a main character. She's amazing.
Yeah.
She literally, they're like, Omega's in trouble. And she goes to the door, grabs a sniper rifle, and immediately is on the roof. I was like, you're awesome.
Like, I got this. Whoa, okay, all right.
You are so cool.
You can be my mom.
You are the coolest mom.
Yeah, I did enjoy that.
Y'all, if you like this video, like and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so that you get notified when we post other videos. We're gonna have so many spoiler chats because there's 14 more episodes of the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is true.
That is true. As always, you can follow us on Twitch. I'm over at twitch.tv/nerdygenitely.
I'm over at twitch.tv/ClashDakara.
The spelling's up there. Don't add a ch. I don't know how to spell a ch, but don't add that.
We're also both live today.
We are. I'm going to be playing Resident Evil Village.
Yep, and I'll be playing Pokemon Nuzlocke.
Yes, I'm doing the scary thing, and she's doing the scarier thing of watching her Pokemon die as she fails them. My name's Nerdy.
And I'm Claroos. Do something nerdy tonight.
Bye.